Man, it was good to see Guy Ritchie
Rebound.
Well, rebound, but also like do a movie that feels like his again. Like it's that like British gangster.
When I think Guy Ritchie film, this is what I think of.
I turned to you after we left the theater, and I was like, I think this is of those films of Lock, Stock, and Snatch, and this. I think
Rock and
Rolla. I felt like this might be my second favorite behind Snatch.
I think so too. And the more I slept on it, and like the more and more I think about it, I think so too. And I think it's right up there with Snatch.
Yeah. Snatch holds somewhat of a special place in my heart because that was something where it was around the time I really started getting into movies, and I saw that movie, and it was a little more different than something I had seen, and it also was my introduction to, man, Brad Pitt's
was kind of a badass.
Yeah, I was like, I was used to him being kind of like the.
At that point, I'm assuming you had not seen Fight Club.
No, I hadn't seen Fight Club. Like it was just one of those things where, it was just an introduction to Brad Pitt being like choosing like different roles. At that point, he was just like the romantic or like the romance movie kind of lead in the way, or action star, but he was Brad Pitt.
Yeah.
And when I saw him in Snatch, it was like, this is just this like strange character.
Yeah.
That being said, this movie is filled with awesome performances. You have McConaughey is someone.
Almost everyone's.
Yeah, everyone did a really good job, and it was balanced pretty well, and it was interesting to see like Hugh Grant was playing against type. He wasn't like the rom-com lead. He was playing like this sleazeball reporter, and McConaughey was McConaughey.
But McConaughey crushes.
Oh, he's good. I will admit, in the first 2 minutes where it shows him walking in the bar and he's ordering the beer, I was like, is this a McConaughey beer commercial?
Yeah.
Like, that's what it felt like.
He's talking real slow.
He looked like he did in his Lincoln ads.
Yeah.
But
as it picks up and the type of character he is, it's not a normal McConaughey performance. He's a gangster.
Yeah, he's built himself up. Man, his character was interesting.
Yeah.
Because he was like a good old boy who got a scholarship to Oxford where he continued to sell drugs. Like I kind of want to see that movie. I want to see his rise to power.
Yeah.
I mean, his character was fascinating, and how he's like, I'm wanting to get out of the game.
Well, he's like a guy that's like put life in perspective, and he's kind of wants to get out, and he's madly in love with his wife.
Yeah, she's awesome.
Yeah,
Michelle Dockery.
Yeah, and she complimented him, and they're like just really in love with each other, but he's in an interesting spot because he's like getting tired of doing it, but he's still at the top of the game.
Well, you can tell there's moments where he's like, he doesn't want to get out.
Yeah.
Like he keeps. It's not like, oh, you keep pulling me back in. It's kind of like, well.
And the moment his wife, where he's hanging out in his wife's office, and she's like, "You're gonna have to find something else to do."
And he's like,
he's bored.
Well, he hadn't really thought that far ahead. He was more focused on like, oh, I'm gonna retire.
Yeah.
I'm gonna go straight. I'm gonna be fine. I also I liked how this movie was kind of set up because it's basically Hugh Grant kind of blackmailing Charlie Hunnam. Charlie Hunnam's awesome, by the way. He's someone that each movie I see, in a new movie I see him in, I realize like, I like Charlie Hunnam.
He was good, but he's got one scene in this that might be the, like, in terms of acting performance, might be the best scene in the movie.
Are you talking about when they're in the flat with the drug addicts?
Yeah.
Yes. That scene's awesome. Where he's rolling like the joint and he starts talking about how like he likes it, where it's like half marijuana, half tobacco, and then he just keeps talking. Like he is chewing the scenery so well, and he's
sit down.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. And he's telling him to sit down, and he's the right.
I know who
he's
you are.
Well, he's like Mark Strong
is.
in Rock and Rolla, where he's the right hand man, but he's like, you don't mess with that character.
Yeah.
Like Yeah.
There's a reason he's the right-hand man.
Yeah. And he's loyal, but he also is like...
He's also OCD.
Yeah.
Which kind of plays for a little bit. There's some funny bits played.
Well, and that goes into... But anyway, the setup of the story, though, is like... Hugh Grant is spilling out to Charlie Hunnam like everything that he knows and that he's going to go to the press with unless they give Hugh Grant, what was it, like 20 million pounds or something? But the way he says it's all in he's written a script about it.
Yeah. So
the way he's telling the story is like it's a movie script, which in a way is like what a Guy Ritchie story is. It's never... you shouldn't take any of it seriously. It's a movie. It's very much how I go into watching Tarantino movies. It's like, this is a film. Like, this is all but like, it's none of it's real, but it's wildly entertaining because of this story. And
there are very few filmmakers working where you can watch it and you know who made it.
Yes, and Guy Ritchie is one of them.
Yeah, and specifically when he does. I mean, of course, you could have watched Aladdin and not known.
No,
or you could have watched
Sherlock Holmes. You could.
There are moments where you would be watching Sherlock Holmes, and if you didn't know, you go, "Is this Guy Ritchie?" Like
yes, but I would say definitely Man from U.N.C.L.E. and then all his other.
See, I would say even Man from U.N.C.L.E. you would go, "Is this Guy Ritchie?" Like there are moments where there's like some of his signature stuff that he does.
Usually it's like the quick back and forth that he has, and there's also he has some like crass jokes.
But to me, those aren't Guy Ritchie films. Those are studio films
that he's just happening to direct.
Okay. That he's put his like little twist on. I'm talking about his films, which is this
Lost Stock and Snatch and
Rock and Roll.
Yeah.
And those movies are so Guy Ritchie that you see any of them. I mean, you could watch 10 minutes of them and go, "This is Guy Ritchie."
Well, he's someone, I mentioned this to you in the car, he's one of those filmmakers, like him or not, for me, he can make a movie entertaining without having tons of comedy beats or tons of action scenes. It's all because it's his style. Yeah. And because he has, much like Tarantino or Sorkin, the way he writes scenes, there's like almost like a language, or there's a rhythm to it.
Yeah.
So that when you're watching it, you get into this rhythm of watching his films so that you're entertained just by the dialogue alone.
And what I like too about his films, and I talked about that when you mentioned it's like rhythm. As the movie goes on, the rhythm picks up.
Yes, it is like
it's slow, but over an hour and a half, 2 hours, about 2/3 of the way through, it's really.
Well, it's because he always has these overlapping storylines and characters.
And he starts to bring them together.
Yes, and because of that, shit starts going down.
Yeah,
and this is no different. This movie is no different in that sense. I really liked this story because there are so many moving parts, and to see how some people are backstabbing, and then some people you're trying to figure out who's loyal, who's not, and then on top of that, you do have the great Guy Ritchie humor. Colin Farrell is hilarious in this movie. He is so funny,
good,
and because he keeps saying like, "Oh, my debt's paid," and then he keeps. And like almost inadvertently helping him out, like he's like, "That's 4 times. That is 4 times I've paid you back." And his character, like, and every character, I thought was basically perfectly cast, and they're entertaining in their own right. Even Henry Golding to a point, who he's the most unlikable character in the movie, but that's all part of like what Hugh Grant talks about when he's spelling out his script. He's like, "Let me introduce the protagonist," and he introduced Matthew McConaughey's character, and he goes, "Now,
know from the beginning, even though that Matthew McConaughey's
not shady, but
he's a gangster.
He's a gangster. You know, he's the guy you want to win.
Yeah,
it's a Guy Ritchie film that when I was watching it, I was so glad I was watching this film. Basically just Guy Ritchie going back to what he did best, and it was so refreshing. And this, much like Bad Boys 3, this was a movie that I left the movie. Right when the credits rolled, I was like, I want to watch this again. This is a movie that I definitely will buy.
It's really good. After a week off for us, like we didn't double feature, but it was like
late Friday night, Saturday early afternoon, back to back.
Yeah.
And both of these movies were so fun.
Yeah.
But
it's good. It's nice to watch a movie in January. It's good.
Yeah, because you don't have to take it too seriously. And The Gentleman, though, it's one that I will definitely buy, and I will be able to watch this on repeat. In the same way that I could watch Snatch on repeat.
Yeah.
And the difference, though, is like Snatch has some characters that are like this, and they make a point of this. This is a Guy Ritchie gangster film, but everyone that they're dealing with are like rich individuals. McConaughey, Charlie Hunnam is right below him. Henry Golding, Colin Farrell, I guess you wouldn't say is rich, but he owns a boxing gym.
Yeah, and he takes in troubled kids and teaches them how to box.
That was a kind of a weird subplot, but it also it
worked.
I get and for me
because the kids he was taking in were real ones.
Were real gangsters. Yeah.
Yeah, no, I mean they. It was funny because there's a moment in this film where they unknowingly rip off McConaughey's character, and they are actually outmanned. They get in there and they think they're just gonna
take it and
go, and then there's a fight that ensues, and then they're actually outmanned, and then it flashes to the guys telling McConaughey what happened, and he was like, they could fight.
Yeah, he's like, no, because I had to give it to them. Like, they knew what they were doing.
Yeah, like they were
gangsters. They could brawl.
They weren't just these kids because they filmed it while it happened, and they were like rapping and everything and it was like they're more than that.
It's like no, that's their thing. Is that they film themselves beating
fight porn.
Yeah, they call it fight porn. But I thoroughly enjoyed this movie. The soundtrack is awesome. It's a Guy Ritchie perfect. I mean, it's just like exactly what I want from a Guy Ritchie film. The performances are on, just great. It was good to see McConaughey in this type of. He is menacing at times, and that was cool to see.
Well, it's a guy that because it's McConaughey and he's kind of
he's McConaughey.
Texas,
he's smooth.
And you sit there and you like him. You want to talk to him.
But then he has those moments where he's like, "No, I'm top dog." And then that's when you're like, "Oh man, McConaughey's great."
Yeah,
I love
because
Matthew.
There's moments where it's challenged, and he has to put people in their place.
He never really loses his cool.
No. Well,
once.
Yeah. They get what's coming.
Which was awesome. I'm telling you.
And you know it's coming too. That's when it happens. You're like, oh. Dude, you're fucked, man. You're in a bad place.
God. But what would you give this movie? What was that look? You're like
No, this is an A-.
I'm gonna have to give this one.
This is real. I
like Guy Ritchie films.
Yeah, specifically his films.
Yeah,
and it's what I do love. Man from U.N.C.L.E. Both Sherlock Holmes are pretty good.
See, when I left the theater, I was like, I gotta see Man from U.N.C.L.E. again.
And I really like that movie, but there's something about it's kind of like watching younger Tarantino. It's that raw feeling.
Yeah.
And this was a throwback to that.
But see, I would argue this didn't feel as raw as Lock, Stock, or Snatch.
No, but you could tell he was way more involved in this one.
Yeah. Oh, yes.
This was.
Well, he wrote it.
Yeah.
I mean, other stuff he would co-write or he would help come up with a story or, But this was him and two of the producers who I'm assuming are also screenwriters. I think it's Ivan Atkinson and there's another gentleman, I forget his name. But they wrote the story with Guy Ritchie and Guy Ritchie wrote the screenplay. He wrote all the dialogue and it feels that way. Yeah. Which was, I was like, I hope he just goes back to doing these types of movies. Yeah. Because he's a director that he'll never win an Oscar. He'll never get nominated. Like, no one's going to take his movies seriously. But I don't think he minds that. I'd hope, because for me, they are wildly entertaining movies.
And they're well crafted.
Yeah, well, I like how they're crafted. I like how...
It's very unique. And it's a shame that, like you said, I don't think he will either. And to me, it's kind of a shame. Because of how well crafted. I mean... He's got all the stories going on, and then he weaves them together, and then what comes of that story is always really good. Like, it's really entertaining.
Yeah. like I said, it's his screenplays for me usually.
He's a real rock and roller.
Yeah, he usually. He is a real rock and roller. But his screenplays are entertaining in their own right, not necessarily because of certain scenes. It's just like everything being somewhat cohesive. When it is all put together, they're just super entertaining movies, and it's all because of his style.
But what do you give it? I give it an A-.
Oh, I've been teetering back and forth. I think overall I'd give it like a B+. But for a Guy Ritchie film, yeah, I'd give it like an A-. Like it's.
What do you give it?
A B+.
Okay. It's an A-, B+.
Yeah. So, but I go see this movie because he's had his movie, except for Sherlock Holmes and Aladdin, his movie like Man from U.N.C.L.E. didn't make a whole lot,
which is a shame.
Yeah,
that was one of the in my opinion, that was one of the better movies that year.
Yeah, Man from U.N.C.L.E. was so fun, and also like. I know Rock and Roll didn't make a whole lot of money. King Arthur, I told you, didn't get. I think that got way too much flack.
Well, I mean, you could tell why. I mean, as someone who's like kind of a fan of the original King Arthur story, and you could tell what
it was different, but it felt like it did feel like a Guy Ritchie film in olden times with some fantastical elements thrown in. For me, it was a wildly entertaining movie, but still, that's a movie that didn't do well in theaters, and it's like for me, if people go and see The Gentleman, it's like he'll get more money to make more films like this, hopefully.
See, I always thought it was a shame Rock and Roll didn't make it. I remember
I wanted a sequel so bad because they were like, he's going to return in the real Rock and Rolla, and I was like, hell yes, I want to see this story continue.
Yeah,
and it didn't.
That being said, and we also talked about that, they are very much testosterone-filled movies.
This is not a. It's not a. Yeah, it goes.
Even though there is a strong, his wife is a badass.
Yes, but it is
McConaughey's wife.
McConaughey's wife is Michelle Dockery is a badass, but you're right. This is a movie that I mean, I don't want to make a generalized statement, but it is something. It's very much a guy's movie.
Yeah,
all his movies kind of are, except for Man from U.N.C.L.E. and Sherlock Holmes, but all his gangster movies, yeah, they're just kind of like guy.
But they're gangster movies.
Yeah. So, but yeah,
I'd love to see him do like an Americanized gangster film.
See, I don't. I don't.
I mean, I'm not saying
I would like to see his take on it, sure.
Yeah.
But I think what makes him so great is that he kind of has a.
You don't think he would do like a 19? I don't know.
I think. See, I think
a
part of his
Miami.
A part of. Cocaine filled.
Yes.
I mean, listen, I think he could do it, but I think what makes these movies for me kind of special is that it is in Britain.
Yeah.
He has a grasp.
Absolutely.
He has a grasp of that type of feel, and I feel like it would be different in America.
Well, yes and no. I feel like if he was able to make the movie he wanted to make, I think he'd be successful.
I don't think you're wrong. But I do think
I think
it would be among the weaker of his gangster movies.
Well, Guy Ritchie, we're challenging
you, boy. But yeah, that was our take on The Gentleman. Go see it. It's wildly entertaining. And
1950s LA.
Dude, I'm not saying I would prefer Miami. I will say that 80s Miami. I think he could do it because Guy Ritchie is over the top.
Yeah.
1950s LA, I can only take, and it's probably partly due to like LA Confidential is one of my favorite movies, and that's very grounded. So if I see anything that's kind of crazy, and then I'm like, no, LA Confidential already did this the best.
Sean, we just watched Bad Boys.
Dude, I know. But yeah, catch us next time on Our Take.